Right, so welcome to Active Travel Cafe. Really exciting lineup this evening. We have Michela Chamonal, who's giving us the lowdown on the International Bicycle Mare Network. After that, we're going to segue seamlessly to one of said mares with Simon Storey, who's going to share with us his experience of the bicycle being bicycle mare for Warwick. And we will reflect on the fact he doesn't have special chains yet, which he has to rectify, as you know. And as if that wasn't enough, we've then got Ranty with his usual good, the bad, and the interesting slot. So Mark will be with us to finish off this evening. So loads to get through, really exciting session for you. And as I've said many times before, please do make sure you ask your questions in the Q&A. Mark from Brighton, you've got your hand up straight away. Would you like to raise something before we kick off?
Hi, yes. So just a couple of bike share things. I was at Micromobility Europe last week in Brussels. That's the sunset in Brussels that they partied
Oh,
behind me.
nice.
It was very good. There's lots of things that have come out of it. The announcement of the new operators in Paris is one thing, which is Dot, Lime, and Voy. On the back of that, and them not getting Paris, Bolt didn't get Paris and have now said they're going to launch in London. And Avoy are coming into London in a big way. So there's going to be a four operator split in London, and that'll be interesting. There was some discussion on Active ATA discussions about delivery riders, and I managed to collar the new chief exec of the chief exec of the American company that's just bought Deliveroo, and chatted to him and said it would be nice if you talked to people and so on. I don't know how much notice he's going to take of me or anyone else, but it was good to actually just get him for 15 minutes, and I've got a link to him. So there we go. If you have problems with Deliveroo, we can see, is four operators too many? Yes, it probably, says David, probably they'll fight to the death. Lime will probably win, but who knows? There's that. That's the good news, or the interesting news. The challenging news, which I didn't want to put because it's quite complicated and we might want to discuss in more detail, is the bus services bill is back in the committee stages of Parliament. And today it's launched. There are clauses in there which are basically wrecking clauses well, one clause says all bus stop bypasses, floating bus stops and borders shall be made illegal, and the Department of Transport shall tell every council to remove them within 6 months of this bill becoming law. That's the sort of most egregious one, and it works its way down to the sort of, well, we would just want to have an equality impact assessment on them and so on. People who shall not be named here say it's all fine, don't worry. But obviously with anything, the government's going to whip people and it's not going to go through, but there's always a risk that it might go through. Will Norman apparently is very worried. I hear that from a source. So if he's worried, that he must have some degree of concern for it being a risk. It's a lot to write the detail, and I don't want people going into the whole thing about are they good ideas or not. It's a very specific thing on this, amendments from MPs to this bill. There's a list of people who are on that committee. So I'm going to post up the list of MPs who are on that committee. If your MP is on that committee, it might be useful. And Exeter's MP is on there. I think Steve Race is Exeter, is that right? So if anyone knows him, then you can say, please support the amendments that don't make it illegal. They may not take any notice. If you write to other MPs who aren't your MPs, they'll take no notice of you. So it's, you need to be focused and targeted on this, and not just go on about how, broad stuff. It needs to be really simple, saying just support clauses X, Y, and Z, and don't support the other ones. So I'll try and do a note on that.
Thanks,
and just
Mark.
keep people.
Excellent.
My MP, Sian Berry, by the way, is on the committee, Green MP
Great.
for Brighton Pavilion, and she's going to be, very supportive of all sorts of stuff. So,
Thanks, Mark.
we've got one supportive voice.
Thanks, Mark. Excellent update. Please do post that in the chat. If people are going to accuse us of being the evil cycling lobby, we may as well act like it. So get lobbying, people. Mark, could I ask you a favour while you pop that into the chat? Just if anybody needs some bullet points or any sort of prompts, maybe you could include those in the chat as to what they might say as well, because then it'll make it super easy for people to be supportive.
So I probably won't be able to write those while I'm listening to everyone else talk, but I'll try and maybe put it on.
See if you can. See if you can.
ATA.
I'm not saying full pro forma email, but prompts would be good. David, Cox, can I come to you in Birmingham?
Thank you, Steve. Just very briefly, you may have heard on this session, these sessions going right back to ideas with beers about the long Birmingham cycle revolution. It's one of the longest revolutions in history, I think. It's already lasted longer than the Second World War. But anyway, we had a 6th anniversary of the A38 flagship Blue Route, which features in lots of Cycling UK magazines because they took a bunch of pictures. It's been going for 6 years. The blue surface has turned to faded denim. But this week we got formal consultation on extending this blue route on the A38 as far as Longbridge. They used to make cars once upon a time. So we're really pleased about that, and we're quite pleased with the nature of the scheme. So we'll be writing in support. The other thing that to draw your attention to is the premiere of a short film called City of Cars, which has been put together by Sarah Chandler, who does a lot of work with Better Streets for Birmingham, a very active community-based campaigning group. And it's very good, but it does feature the outcome of reckless driving in Birmingham and the deaths of 2 children, and then she interviews 2 of the families. So that I hope that'll go to wider circulation. The premiere is in the Custard Factory on Thursday in Birmingham, but it features how awful some of the driving in Birmingham is, and how dangerous it is, and how a couple of decent cycle lanes don't really mitigate it because you've got to get to the lanes, or a few low traffic neighbourhoods. But progress, even without good political leadership at the moment, is slowly happening. So we're looking forward to seeing some shovels in the ground, and I hope this film gets very wide circulation. It's called City of Cars. Thank you.
Thanks, David. That's brilliant. And we'll possibly, if there's a link to it, we'll find it and we can include it in the chat. That's brilliant. Thanks, David. Anybody else for updates from around the UK news near you? Robin, can I come to you?
Yep, I've got 2 things. First one is a development from last week where the consultation on Oxford's temporary congestion charge is now open. So if you know anything about Oxford's traffic and would like to fill that in, I'll put the link in the chat. So that's a gap filler until the traffic filters trial comes in, but it's quite exciting to have another congestion charge on the blocks somewhere in England. And the second is we had a monthly traffic cabinet makers, transport cabinet members decision meeting this afternoon, and some nice side road entry treatments were approved. So if you're fairly technical and like looking at designs for those, I'll put those in the chat. It's a kind of stage 1 design, so it's only 2 dimensions, but they still look fairly nice. But we'll look forward to hoping that they are implemented in a nice form as well. I'll put the link in the chat.
Thanks, Robin. That's great. Adam.
This one's everybody might have heard of the Transforming Cities Regional Fund, the TCR thing that's coming. It's the replacement for CRSTS, the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement. Any combined authority that has been allocated that funding is now in the middle of developing bids for that funding. So if you are in a unitary authority that is looking at that or going to be getting some money, and some of this is very significant. It ranges from about £750 per head to £1,300 per head in terms of allocation. And of that, primarily it's aimed at trams and buses, etc. But as Brian Deegan has always said, there's no such thing as a cycle-only scheme, but there's no scheme that isn't a cycle scheme. So you are now in the process of setting out what's going to happen between now and probably about 2033. So if you don't get this done in the next 2 years, and you don't push for these schemes in the next 2 years, you can watch the next 7 years, or the next 7 years are going to be boring for you, and you're going to be sitting there going, why is this all just going on trams? Why is there no active travel stuff in there? So right now is the time you should be screaming the loudest and really getting in those rooms and being part of that. I've already started putting in, for example, at WECA, I've requested an update to the LC whips as well as the delivery of the strategic active travel network, similar to Oxfordshire's, as a way for them to define their TCR bid, to help unitary authorities do that. And that means they need to act now on developing the SATN or Saturn, as well as updating the LC whips. And you should be asking the same thing of your combined authority as well as your council, to basically make sure. So really boring, but really important. What happens now in the next year will define what you're going to see on the ground in 2032, 33.
Thanks, Adam. And yeah, very important. Probably not boring, but far too many acronyms for my liking. So let's get rid of the acronyms. That would be a nice thing. Mark, did you want to come back in on that?
Yeah, just Adam and I have been having a discussion about this, I think. There are places like here in Sussex that are going to become a mayoral combined authority. There are others like York and North Yorkshire, where some of us will be next week, that have just become one, but haven't been able to get the TCR, and their funding is an order of magnitude lower. So York and North Yorkshire, I can't remember the exact figures, has a population bigger than Weka, but 10 times less, or a tenth of the funding for TCR. And I think Hull and whatever it is, Grimsby, is similarly. It's very much a city, so it's a city. It's very city region, but it's getting a tiny proportion of what the TCR established combined authorities are getting. So it's great for places like Weka, but it's not so great for the other places. And there's no indication of whether they'll be allowed to catch up, or whether they're set for the next 4 years of getting a tenth of everyone else's funding. There's no answer to that, but if you live in those areas, you might feel a bit hard done by.
Thanks, Mark. I think, Pops, maybe, and we can discuss this with the organising group. We need to come back to this topic because it sounds like it's a live one. Anybody else got any updates before we go to our speakers? We're all waiting. I think we're done with our whistle-stop tour of UK news. Okay, brilliant. Michela, I'm going to hand over to you to take us through bike mayors and the international network.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
In the meantime, well, thank you for hosting us. And I want to thank you also, Simon, for being here, for taking over after this brief presentation about the Bicycle Mayor Network, and also to Beth, the Bicycle Mayor of Torbay, for actually proposing me to be here. So I'm gonna give a brief presentation of what's bikes, if any of you doesn't know it, and what we do there, and what's actually the Bicycle Mayor Network project. So the slide should move when I press something, but it's not moving. Okay. Bikes is a non-profit organization that is based in Amsterdam. We are driven by this belief that bicycle can transform cities, and by transforming cities, then we, of course, transform the world. So yeah, we bring on this advocacy of active mobility, in particular focus on bikes. Our mission is to look at the community, so strengthen the community of cyclists and of cycling initiatives globally, focusing on what we call the human infrastructure, which means looking at all those aspects and facilities that affect and involve humans, so people. So we think that very often the focus is, or it has been, on built infrastructure. However, we like to start with the idea that we have to begin with the human infrastructure. So from the community to then later on naturally shift to the build infrastructure. We do believe that both of them are needed, but that it is very important to focus also on the human infrastructure side, so on people and community. And this is what's about the Bicycle Mayor, on strengthening this human infrastructure. So we think that by doing that, there is going to be an increase of demand in cycling. There is going to be more built infrastructure because more people will want to bike, because there is going to be more equality and accessibility as well to the mean of a bicycle. And we'll ensure exactly that all communities can make use of bikes. So we also focus a lot on this point, the fact that everybody should have access to a bike. For this reason, actually, right now we're focusing more also on the global south, so on more developing countries where the cycling infrastructure is still less developed in a major scale compared to, for example, the UK or Europe in general. The reason why we started the Bicycle Mayor Network, well, it started in 2016, and we started because we noticed that, well, I wasn't there, but they noticed that there are similar challenges and opportunities and struggles among a lot of activists, among the advocacy when it comes to make a change with using a bike. So we thought they thought what was needed was a sort of collaboration and a union among all these people to create a stronger advocacy. So this was born with a strong belief in the power of civil society to drive a change that would have been durable, so long term. Um, yeah. So yeah, this is a brief history. It started in Amsterdam in 2016. The real name, the first name was Cycle Space, and then it switched. Actually, bikes is a sort of acronym for Beyond Cycle Space. And then, so in 2016, the first bicycle mayor was elected, and this was in Amsterdam. Also, the name bicycle mayor was chosen to sort of indicate something that sort of given an authority to whoever wanted to do an advocacy to give a stronger voice. However, bicycle mayors do not have any political affiliation, and to become a bicycle mayor, it's a must that you are not into anything that regards politics, like you don't work into politics. So in the as much as we can in the sense of politics, we try to be neutral. In 2018, we also started the junior bicycle mayors to involve kids because we believe that change starts with children. A lot of projects and bikes actually involve children, and we try to implement strategies that were actually created by children. In 2020, we had 100 bicycle mayors. In 2021, we also started the Bikes India Foundation because we started to look for bicycle mayors in India, and we saw that there was a very good resonance. We have there now like 60 bicycle mayors, and it's very interesting because India is also a place where the infrastructure is not the greatest. So it was quite surprising to see how many people actually and how strong the community for the advocacy of active traveling through bike is over there. And nowadays, there is a total of 165 bicycle mayors that are spread in 42 countries. Yeah, so in practice, what do bicycle mayors do is that they try to understand and work towards solving main challenges that there are in their cities. We don't tell them what they have to do. They can use their advocacy in the way they want. They can use their name as bicycle mayors in the way they want. We have set targets. For example, right now we focus on women and women with children in a lower socioeconomic status and on children. However, they can decide to focus on what they want. So we expect them to collaborate with residents, with activists, and also with the government, so to promote their work and change. In the network, so among the bicycle network, the idea is that they share the best practices, so they talk within each other to understand better also in different parts of the world what's going on, and really to have this global perspective. So to go out of the country, of their city, to see what's going on and to be able to get inspired, and because maybe something that was successful somewhere else could be also successful in their city. In general, they are appointed for 2 years. However, that can go on if they are active and they wish to be reappointed. Otherwise, they promote the bicycle mayor network to other mayors afterwards, so that they get replaced. Yeah, here it's a picture of Simon with his bike bus, I think. So what do they do? Mainly, what do we do at Bikes? We promote their work. So we give them visibility through our socials, newsletter, and we give them notice of event opportunities or external funds. So we give them support in drafting, for example, proposals. If there is a collaboration, then sometimes they have like free access to certain facilities or certain conferences, for example. So yeah, the idea is mainly to give them visibility, this empowerment of having a choice to advocate in a stronger way, and direct support. So they can talk with us with bikes and getting a sort of like soft consultancy in their projects. This is just a super quick overview of who is there in the UK. So we have 12 bicycle mayors, which is quite a bit. Actually, the UK community is pretty strong, and there is a lot of involvement, and I see everybody's very active and really wanting a change. But now we can dive a little bit more into what's going on in the UK with Simon, that he's gonna show a little bit his work as bicycle mayor. So yeah, I'm gonna give him his word. Now there is just the last slide. Ah no, okay. Ah no, okay. This is just is more like so it's there. As later on the slides are gonna be available. How to become a bicycle mayor. We have a form that needs to be filled up, and then it goes through a review, and then you can become bicycle mayor. We have a website page where we're gonna put your profile. We're gonna show you on our profile on Instagram, and then you will become part of the network. Yeah, and this is just a last thing with some details that are gonna stay there in case they're needed after. But now I'm gonna leave the word to Simon, and I'm gonna keep sharing my screen. So yeah, just you're gonna give me the notice when I have to change the slide.
Thank you, Michela. Yeah, that was really interesting, and I will hope to explain a bit more about how Bicycle Mayor Network in the UK works and the work that I've done in particular. So, as you can see, this is the logo that we use, and specific to our areas. So mine's Warwick. I actually became Bicycle Mayor in January 2024. So I'm sort of 18 months in now. So coming up to my 2-year tenure, I'm definitely going to be carrying on. I do say to other people is that a really healthy place to be would be that you've got other people in your area that would also like to become bicycle mayor, and then it's almost like a proper vote, if you like, and you put your ideas forward and things like that. But in lieu of anybody in my area wanting to take it on, I'm more than happy to carry on. In fact, I'm potentially thinking of actually broadening my scope to Warwickshire, the county, rather than just the district, because I am moving more and more into the Stratford area, which is a district in its own. And you've got Rugby, you've got Nuneaton, Bedworth. So, there's lots of areas. Not that I've sort of completed everything in Warwick, but, there's lots more to do as well. So how I became bicycle mayor. I am a British cycling coach. I started an initiative called the Bicycle Bus. That took me into doing Kidical mass rides. And as you can see on the bottom right there, I've actually started a not-for-profit company called Cycle Infinity, which I teach people to ride. We do confidence building sessions and maintenance workshops, that sort of thing. And when it was suggested to me about becoming bicycle mayor, I at first was very hesitant, because I thought other people do that sort of thing. Sort of people that know what they're doing do that sort of thing. But the more I investigated and the more I thought about it, I actually thought, I do know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I'm very passionate about what I do. So I thought, yeah, let's take it on. And I'll be honest with you, it's absolutely the best thing I've ever done. So I hope to maybe inspire some of you to consider becoming a bicycle mayor, because it really is fantastic. So I will go into some of the other things that I've done. So if you could just go to the next slide, please, Michela. So one thing that becoming bicycle mayor does is actually open a lot of doors for you. So as the bicycle bus organizer, which I will touch on shortly, I had regular meetings with the council to talk about getting infrastructure improved and things like that. And that was all it was. It was basically a meeting every so often to discuss things. Pretty much as soon as I became bicycle mayor, doors started to open, and I was invited onto doing working groups. So I'm on a working group for cycle parking in the town centre. We have regular meetings with the county council active travel team. There's just all these different areas that suddenly opened up and wanted to know my thoughts and put my input into things. So, and as you can see here, this is a, you may have heard of it, it's called Pechakucha. They are, what Pechakucha is chitter chatter in Japanese. But they have about 6 people talking at any one time, as in one evening. But you have, I think it's 10 minutes, and you basically get to talk about all that you can do. And that was in front of about 80 people. Now, as a child, I was painfully shy. And if I'd have told you that I was stood in front of 80 people giving a talk when I was a child, that I would have run away and hid and cried. But becoming bicycle mayor has given me a newfound confidence. It really has. And I'm quite, I still feel like I stumble over my words sometimes, but I'm quite happy to stand in front of a crowd and, you know, demand their attention, but also, you know, passionately talk about cycling and all that cycling is. So if you go on to the next slide, please. So the bicycle bus. I set my bicycle bus up in 2020, which is ahead of the curve. If anybody doesn't know what a bicycle bus is, it is a pre-planned route, as you can see on the right of the screen there, that we try and avoid the main roads, and we take families to school together. That is basically it. It's a very simple concept, but the kids absolutely love it. Now, if you Google bicycle bus, I think it says sort of the movement started in 2021 in the UK. So I'm quite proud of the fact that I'm one of the first organised groups, if you like, in the UK. And I started to get asked about how people could do. I have quite a presence online, Facebook, etc. And people were finding me out and asking, how do you start a bicycle bus? So I helped them out. And it became a thing for me. So I started then setting them up locally. And I'm now on my 10th one. This one that you can see now is Stratford Primary. And I start them up, basically. I do the risk assessments, I plan the routes, I do the advertising. We get going, and then within 6 weeks, 1 or 2 of the parents decide that they can carry on. And then I move on to the next school, basically. So we have, as I say, I've helped 10 other initiatives starting, and I've got about another 4 or 5 in the pipeline. So it's become a real passion of mine to do this. And the kids and the feedback we get from it is absolutely amazing. People that are taking up cycling again, they go on family bike rides. They feel like they're connecting with their children again. So it's as I say, it's a real passion of mine. As I say, it was that particular one, Stratford, we had a new record with them, and we had 33 on the bus, what I call on the bus. And, you know, all these people were mostly driving to school before that. So we are making a real difference in taking cars off the road, reducing air pollution around schools, and the age-old problem of inconsiderately parked cars and dangerously parked cars around schools. So, as you can see, smiles galore. If you could move on to the next slide, please, Michela. As I mentioned, I did critical mass rides. I was inspired by what I saw online and decided to start my own. So it's the first and only one in Warwickshire still. And we've had mixed successes. We've had last year, the 2 weekends we ran it, it rained both weekends, and we had about 20 people turn up. but this was just last month, and as you can see, it was 150 people. The the picture on the right at the bottom there is my Wembley moment. So it was absolutely amazing. And again, just the noise and the feedback and the chitter chatter, laughter, it's just absolutely amazing. But the whole point of critical mass, as again, a lot of you will probably know, is to draw attention to the fact that there is no infrastructure, or there's very poor infrastructure. So we're making a protest to the local councils about how, why it is needed, and look at all these people that would like to take up cycling, would like to ride to the shops, to school, to work, but they just don't feel safe. And when you've got 150 people like we had on the other week, people do sit up and take notice. It was, and then if you move on to the next slide, please. So you may recognise a few of these faces. Becoming bicycle mayor gives you a voice, and it makes you people take notice of you. So obviously you've got Chris Boardman and Adam Tranter, I know you know, and on the right you may know Sam Bolto, who is a bicycle bus leader in America, and he was over for the Bicycle Bus Global Summit that happened earlier this year in Worcester. And so obviously I had to, as you can see by all these, I do like a selfie. Bottom right is the High Sheriff of Warwickshire, who does a lot of work with charities and campaigning and stuff, and she has said that she would like to join us on a ride, whether it be critical mass or a bicycle bus. So but when it was Adam that actually inspired me to start the bicycle bus, and it was a conference last year when I cornered Chris Boardman and basically was asking him whether we could fund bicycle buses. I would like to see bicycle buses in every school in the country. He was quite clear in the fact that there probably isn't the funding for that, but it was really pleasant to find about a week later I had follow-up emails from about 3 different government departments. So we'd obviously gone back and spoken about it. So it's again, it's just having that voice that people do take note of what you're saying as bicycle mayor. If you'd like to take the next slide, please. Another thing was, you might know about the Brompton bike hire hubs. I don't think we have any in Warwickshire here at all. So I was asked by Sir Jeremy Wright, who's a local MP in Kenilworth, to endorse a application as bicycle mayor to the rail authorities to get a bike hub installed at the Kenilworth train station. And I'm obviously not saying that mine was the the tipping point, but putting my backing behind it was part of the successful application. And now it's there and it's live. And Sam, who I was dealing with at Brompton, came up and we had a little tour around Kenilworth on our Bromptons. So again, it's little things like this that making a difference. And everyone we've spoken to about the Brompton bike car hubs, they £5 a day to hire a Brompton. It's such amazing value. So to be able to deliver that to my area as bicycle mayor, I feel really proud about that. Next slide, please. Obviously, part of what I do is dealing with the council. Now, this is actually on my bicycle bus route, and you wouldn't believe the pain in trying to find out who owns hedges. In this particular area, there's 3 different authorities that can maintain the different areas, and it has taken years and years for me to find the right person to speak to. But now they have agreed for us to make a heat map of basically high usage areas that cyclists use, and get them cut back and keep them cut back. I mean, those top photos, would you like to ride, through those cycle paths compared to the bottom ones? So again, that was all because of becoming bicycle mayor. I think as just the person who organises a bicycle bus, my voice would have been lost. but I actually was dealing with the head of department, and they got the supervisor of the contractors out, and we went through a load of details of what we'd like to see happen. So again, you know, it's impactful change that we're making there. And the next slide, please. So on the left there, that was the Bicycle Bus Global Summit in Worcester, and we had the nice big group photo there. And as you can probably see at the bottom there, there is a unicorn. So that is Beth, the Torbay bicycle mare, who you can see on the right-hand side next to me. She threw me under the bus for this for this interview, but I'm glad I'm doing it anyway. So the Global Bicycle Bus Summit was absolutely amazing to be part of, and all the different bicycle bus organisations from across the world. We were all so inspired from each other. We're now, obviously, the WhatsApp group is firing left, right, and centre. And on the right, as I say, these are the 4 bicycle mares that attended that. And it was a great chance to catch up as bicycle mares. So you've got Sam, who's from Wolverhampton, Emily from Inverness, Beth from Torbay, and myself. And again, you know, just over a lunch, we couldn't stop talking, you know, and talking about our areas and what we're doing and what we'd like to do. So we're going to try and do a UK bicycle mare meetup at some point to get everyone together to collaborate. Nearly there. Thank you for bearing with me. Next slide, please. You've probably seen this on the internet many times, but this is exactly why I feel I am needed as a bicycle mare. So paint, as we all know, is not infrastructure. And that is exactly why I like to use this photo a lot, to show people why paint is not infrastructure. And, you know, not only is that a reason that the infrastructure isn't right, but it's also driver behaviour. And that was one of my areas that I'm trying to tackle in my area, is driver behaviour. Because, I mean, you know, it's like blowing into the wind, but, you know, you've got to start somewhere. Next slide. And this is the last slide, you'll be pleased to hear. Being a bicycle mare, for me, is all about being visible, as in people visible on bikes. So I organise a lot of these mass rides. We've done kidical mass rides, we do bicycle buses. One of these pictures is from very recently in Stratford. We did a great big Green Week ride. And again, we are just proving the point that, you know, people do want to use their bikes. And I find myself very often saying I am the voice of the common cyclist, because whenever you have an argument with someone, they will talk about lycra-clad people riding 7 abreast in the country road, and then I will show them a picture like this that you can see there and go, what, you mean like these louts here, you know, these young children that want to ride to school and want to use their bikes? It usually shuts them up. Yeah, so thank you for your time. I've probably gone way over my time, so thanks very much.
No, Simon, that's absolutely fine. It was wonderful to hear your experience. That was really great. So please don't apologise. And there weren't too many slides. We can sit through as many of photos as like that as you can possibly imagine on Active Travel Cafe. Please do post any questions or stick your hands up if you've got questions. Beth, because you're the reason for all of this, and because we've just seen you dressed up as a unicorn, which was amazing, by the way. Did you want to come in on any of your reflections? And I've got a couple of questions for Simon and Michela, but it'd be odd not to bring you in at this point, Beth. Also, can I just say kudos for you on the recruitment in the chat while Simon's talking. Proper pincer movement from the two of you there.
Yeah, and Emily as well is on the call somewhere. I think she's just gone off screen. Because we call it the bicycle pyramid scheme. She actually recruited myself and Simon. So that's what you've got to do, is you've got to keep recruiting bicycle mares through the country. I'm working on Exeter at the moment. They need a bicycle mare. So if anyone can point their finger. Yeah, I mean, sadly, my experience hasn't been quite as positive as Simon's yet, but I'm still working on turning it round. I mean, I think we know popularity in the UK of cycling is a bit mixed at the moment. But what I've found is my local authority haven't yet really kind of got me, and got a really kind of, they kind of have never really used the title or anything the way Simon's experienced. But I love to use the title, and I think that's a positive thing. And Larry likes to come out on certain events. Larry is the unicorn. But yeah, no, it's a brilliant, supportive organisation, and it's great to know that there's lots of other people doing great things. So yeah, but I know we're all very open, welcome people. So if you have more questions or you want to nominate a bike mare, then let us know.
Brilliant. Thanks, Beth. Brilliant. So I've got a couple of questions. Mark Strong's got one in the Q&A as well, Simon. So just, I mean, a couple of practical things I think would be good to know. And either you or Beth can come in on this, but from what you described, sounds fairly time intensive. So how do you manage to carve out enough time in a busy life to do this amazing work that you're doing? And as Mark says, being quite open about it, do you need a budget for some of this? I mean, you can't do it all for free. So, what's backing you, and do you have enough time in the day?
Yeah, so first of all, as Michela mentioned before, it is independent, it is voluntary. The organisation recommends between 4 to 8 hours a week that you put towards it. Some, because it's voluntary, you might only be able to do 2 hours. I'm a bit of a person who, once I've got I'm like a dog with a bone sort of thing. So I basically just don't relax. As I say, I'm a British cycling coach. I do the bicycle bus and do several bicycle buses. I've got the not-for-profit. I do the critical mass. I've got 4 kids. I've got a very, very understanding wife. And yeah, basically every minute that I am sitting down, I'm thinking, what could I do? I need to email somebody. I need to put a post out. I need to. So I mean, I don't really keep a track of how many hours I do, but it's more than 8 for sure. And yeah, I mean, we have no budget either as well. So I think, like with Beth was saying, some councils will probably either ignore you or just give you lip service, just like, oh, there you go, invite them along and whatever. But I do feel that Warwick District County and certain elements of Warwickshire County Council are very open to my role and do value what I have to say. As I say, I can't demand they do anything, but I can put the evidence in front of them and sort of say why something is needed, or like I say, I'm asked a lot for consultation on certain things. I don't know everything. I don't know LTM 120 backwards. I can just say, as a common cyclist, what would look good, what would feel good, and they do generally listen in my area.
Brilliant, nice one. Sounds like you're doing a bloody fab job. Emily, you've got your hand up. Please come in. We've got 3 mares. We're like, this is very exciting.
Well, we like to move in packs. I was going to say, I probably don't do much more as bicycle mare than I necessarily did before my appointment. Like, it was all stuff I was doing anyway. I was recruited by Saskia, who used to be the bicycle mayor of Bath, through Critical Mass, which is our favourite recruiting ground. And I think for me, it's like, I'm still actually pretty mind blown how much difference having a title makes. Like, everybody wants to talk about it. I mean, our local paper is really obsessed with it. So every time there's any mention of anything cycling in the paper, I'll get a call, which means even if, and I mean, they're just like any other regional newspaper with a daft headline, but you can usually get at least some little part of sensible cycling content or reaction in there. And yeah, so I mean, for me, it's just given a much better platform for what I was already doing. And like I say, opening all sorts of doors. randomly. You know, I got an email asking me if I go and speak in Parliament, and I'm like, yeah, all right. I don't think anybody would have done that if I hadn't got a title. So yeah, do it, and random things happen to you, and it's great.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emily. So we're going to make this fairly freeform then, because we've got three of you. So it seems unfair to target any of you. So one question I've got, and then I want to come to you, Michela, and get a kind of global international picture on this, is you've all talked about sensible cycling being the a figurehead or at least a voice for cycling in your areas, and it sounds like you're doing amazing jobs, and the activities you're doing very empowering, things like critical mass. Talk to us a little bit about conflict. I mean, Beth, you said your experience is a little bit more mixed than Simon's has been. This will bring you into conflict with people, surely, if you become a voice for cycling and you get some crazy people who don't like cycling. So, how do you handle that? Has that been okay? Are you a support network for each other when that sort of stuff's kicking off? Who wants to come in on that?
Well, as bikes, no, we haven't really gotten into, at least, and since I'm there, and from what I know, we haven't really gotten into internal issues that a bicycle mayor had with other stakeholders around. Um, what happens, of course, and that's mainly more in networks, for example, in Latin America, where the situation is a bit more tense, then there sometimes it does happen that there are actually some issues that can be a bit more tense, like politics wise, maybe some more bigger obstruction on the work of creating bike lanes or creating like bicycle bus. So in that case, yeah, we try to give support and jump in also by showing support, like more active support to the bicycle mayors. And yeah, that has happened. So as bikes directly taxing, for example, some municipalities or other institutions to then talk on behalf of the bicycle mayor to make sure that the situation is all right. So yeah, that has happened, but from my knowledge, it has not happened, for example, on a European level, but more like, yeah, for example, in Latin America.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michaela. And I'm sure a lot of us are involved in international networks, and having 165 fellow mayors across the world will give you a feeling of solidarity and strength, I'm sure. Emily, you've got your hand up. Did you want to come in?
Yes, I mean, I would say I don't think I get any more grief. I mean, particularly, I'm going to put it, say, being a plus size woman on a bike seems to bring out the best in a certain demographic of particularly Twitter users. But like, I put myself out there and I knew that was going to happen, and I'm in a position I can pretty much just shrug it off. And I think what's interesting is that people give my opinion now possibly more weight and less challenge than they would have done before. So I would actually say, in terms of my interactions with particularly local politicians, have generally been really, really respectful. We're never going to agree on a lot of things, and I know I'm never going to change their minds, and I think they know that they're never going to change mine. So we kind of managed to just sort of smile and get on with it.
Can I add in there as well?
Yeah, of
Sorry.
course, Simon.
Just what Emily was saying about politicians. So we are asked to get 3 endorsements for our application, and I got a local MP, the leader of the council, and the chairman or chairwoman of a local campaign group. So straight away, I'm already targeting those people that I'm going to be dealing with. And as I say, I'm not saying it's because of that, but I've got a good relationship with those people now. So yeah, I think it's very much also what your original question. So I think I mentioned in my talk about using photographs as well. So social media in Stratford, as I say, not quite my area, but I'm doing a lot over in Stratford. There's the Warwick Road, which they had a new cycle infrastructure built alongside, which was quite good. And all you hear on Facebook is nobody uses it. Okay, But now we did that great big green ride the other week, and now I've got a great picture of 40 cyclists using that picture, so that infrastructure. So the next time somebody says nobody uses it, I'm just going to post that picture as a reply and be like, "What? Nobody uses that? Like these 40 people here?" You know, it's all about that messaging, I think.
Okay, couple last questions, and then I'll ask H from Glasgow to come in. In fact, H, do you want to come in now? Make it brief though, H. I know what you like. No, he's not coming. For those who have our mayors who haven't been on.
Yeah,
Dillis, you've got
I've
your
got
hand up in Dorset. Did you want to come off mute and ask a question?
well, basically, my apologies for being late and counting people. Cyclists and pedestrians are insidious. When several hundred cars come past, you notice it. When several hundred pedestrians or cyclists go past, you never notice them. They don't make any noise and they take up a lot less space.
But I think they look more beautiful, H, just to fight back on that one. Thank you, H. Dillis, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to come in briefly, and then I'll take the questions, then we'll have to wrap up.
Having been involved with the 20's Plenty meeting today, which was very powerful, I've come in rather late on the day on this, and I didn't know there was such thing as a bicycle mayor, which quite a shock to myself. I don't know there were things like this going on. What is the BYCS website? Sorry, Emily, I'm thick, and I've just up to here with information today. So what is BYCS? You said apply on BYCS.
Yeah, maybe I can.
Yeah, Michela, do you want to explain that piece for her?
Yeah, it just is NGO based in Amsterdam, and we deal with cycling advocacy. So the Bicycle Mayor Network is actually one project of a very long-term big project of the organization, and it deals with appointing some people that become bicycle mayors of a certain city. And this way we give them visibility, we give them help, and they can just be stronger in their advocacy.
Okay, so can you give me the actual website? Because I don't know what BYCS stands for. I'm guessing that's not.
I tell you what, Dillis, we'll pop it in the chat.
Thank you.
So if somebody, we've got loads of mayors and Michela. So if one of you can't put the website in the chat, we're failing miserably. So let's pop that in the chat. And then two last questions. I'll come to I think I'll come to Simon on this because you're our official badged speaker for the evening. Very briefly, if you don't mind, because we've got Ranty, Highwayman to go. Yeah. Shane's asked a question in the Q&A about whether the term mayor, sometimes people mistake you for being a fully elected official and whether that's a thing for you. And then Mark asked a question about nomenclature and whether you've ever discussed becoming cycle mayors rather than bicycle mayors, because some people use other forms of cycle-based transport. Any thoughts on those two, Simon, before I wrap us up?
Yeah, so very briefly, the first point, it's happened about 3 times where I've mentioned it and someone's gone, "Oh, that's what our council taxes are going towards," you know, and then I very quickly go in with it's independent and voluntary. And then your last point, what was it again? Sorry.
Just bicycle versus cycle. Whether
so we're asked to use bicycle. Rather than cycle or bike. So yeah, bicycle mayor.
What you're working with, that's the network. Emily, very last word.
I was going to say the biggest controversy up here is that in Scotland you don't have a mayor, you have a provost. So I have decided that the hashtag pedal provost also works quite well.
Excellent work. And Tim, very funny in the chat, is the collective noun for a group of bicycle mayors a chain gang? Tim, I can always rely on you. Always rely on you. That's been wonderful, everybody. Thank you so much. I don't know whether you realise, but in the chat alone, I think you've had at least 2 suggestions of future candidates. So I think you've done your job, Beth, of coming on this recruitment drive. That's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Really inspiring, really wonderful. And let's hear more from the bicycle mayors as you continue to grow your network. And Michela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks to you.
Okay, we have one more, as if that wasn't enough. To wrap us up, we've got the good, the bad, and the interesting with Ranty, Highwayman. And Mark, can we hand over to you to finish it off?
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's a short but sweet one this week. There was 2 things I was going to do, but I've picked one of them. And as we are moving into summer,
let's look at Sommergata, which is Malmo's Summer Streets program. Now, this has got photos that I took in 2018, but the program is going big and strong. Summer, Gata Streets, Gatton Street. So first photo is one of my assistants back in 2018 enjoying the summer streets in Friesgatten, which you'll see a wider shot in just a second. And this hopefully is a bit of inspiration for people to push for something small in their town or city, just to get a flavour of how things could be. So the programme runs from April to September. There are some other cities starting to take this on across Sweden, but Malmo in the south, probably fairly famous. Started in 2017, Friesgatten, as I've just shown in the previous photo. And interestingly, that is now being pedestrianised permanently this year. For 2025, they have 2 summer squares, 4 summer streets, try it for size kind of thing. Not all of them stick. I'm not going to try and pronounce that, but that was Railway Street. They tried that in 2022, but very mixed results, and they decided not to take that one forward. But they tend to get these on the list and run these out every year to give a bit more space in the city centre. So here we are back over to Friesgatten, and you can see it's not particularly flash. Planters, temporary seating, a bit of astroturf there. I know people don't like it, but it's doing a little job there. And it's not necessarily about eating space and drinking space for businesses. It's literally just space for people. And you can see people are cycling through there, sitting about, walking through, whatever they want to do. The way it operates is the local technical committee of councillors make a decision on what's going to happen in the following summer each autumn. Suggestions come from businesses and residents who live in the area primarily, and that's what they really want to push for, because that gets that buy-in from an early stage. It runs as a trial the first year, and it can be tweaked, evaluated, abandoned, as we have in Railway Street. But they really see this engagement as being critical. And this could be the catalyst for something bigger. You can cycle through the street, as I've just said. So this is a shot from a different angle of the same street as it was before. You can just see little things have got in there. So the pedestrian signage on the left is fixed into sockets into the ground, so that can be taken out every year. You've just out of shot there, zebra crossing, which is what the street operates with normally. So it still has cars, stuff running through rest of the year, or it did until this year when it became a permanent scheme. And there are firm rules behind it. Pedestrians have the full right of way. You can cycle at walking pace. You can drive at walking pace, and that's only for deliveries, access to some of the hotels in the area, and for picking up disabled people. And if you are allowed to take a vehicle in there, you can only stop in a pre-arranged space. So little other things they do here is, again, we're about the community, including the businesses. So some pop-up cycle parking, very familiar shape of cycle parking hoop from Cycle Hoops, but it's the kind of thing that they can put into the street. We've had that one. Have I gone the wrong way? No, we've gone the right way now. So here's just a wide shot. You can see back in 2018, it wasn't a particularly tidy street anyway, but they've added a few things to it, and yeah, try it for size. Can we do something different in the place? So there's a bit of inspiration. Can we grab this for the UK and roll a bit more of this out, which isn't just about supporting restaurants, it's a bit more for people generally. And that's me, Steve. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Lovely, inspiring, and makes us all want to do it more. That's a lovely note to finish it on. Well, that's been a very cheery Active Travel Cafe, I have to say. It's very sunny side up. Thank you so much, everybody. Just to give you a heads up on next week. So next week we've got another really good session. We have Tom Cohen and Ursula Verlingieri, who will update us on their work with the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Cycling and Walking, and their inquiry on active travel and social justice. So their plan for next week. Mark, you have your hand up. Would you like to come in on that?
Yeah, just wondering who's going to York, if anyone.
Okay. Hands up if you're going to York, people. Oh, there, Ruth's going. And Beth, there you go. Beth, 2 Beths. You got a couple of mares. Sally's going. Nice one, everybody. We might have to do a special York dispatch, Mark. Excellent stuff. Okay, lots of people going to York. Very exciting. Robin, is that a hand up, or are you just saying that you're going?
That's a hand up, and I'm going. And there's some do at the bike shop on 7 p.m. in the evening, isn't there?
Very good.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
anyone here will be invited.
Well, it will be. It's Cycle Heaven.
Cycle Heaven.
Andy Shrimpton's shop.
Sounds
Cycle
exactly
Heaven.
the place to be.
The biggest bike shop in North Yorkshire.
What is happening in York?
Active Travel City, probably the biggest conference on active travel in the year, which is normally very expensive. You're all right if your company pays, and Active Travel England made quite a few free tickets available to campaigners. So some of us have been lucky enough to get one.
Oh, wonderful. I've missed out on that.
You still have to
Robin.
pay for your train ticket though.
Robin, you get the Blagger of the Week award. I am wrapping us up. I've still got 2 hands up for Ruth and H. Ruth, did you want to come in? Did you have something to share? No, Ruth put a hand down. That was just a hand up. I'm going to York. H, you've still got your hand up. Is that because you're going to York? Did you want to share anything before we close?
I'm hoping to. I've got some engagement with bikes on buses, and I also want to take up on this bikes and tram rails. And I was going to ask if I'd have got in earlier tonight. I was in Birmingham for multimodal, which is all about trucks and big boats, but nothing about small bikes. Very interesting. Blind spot for everybody. But in Birmingham, the new tram track outside Digbeth looks to be testes kinesiae. They've learned a lot of lessons and the transverse profile, but I didn't have time to get pictures of it at 11 o'clock at night when I was catching the coach. So if anybody in Birmingham would like to take some sample pictures of that and levels of it, it would be very useful.
Brilliant. Thanks, H. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced. For those of you who haven't been with us before, tram tracks keep coming up. They're something of a leitmotif on Active Travel Cafe. We're going to have to do a deep dive on tram tracks with close-up photos of them for tram track fans. I am going to close this there, everybody. Thank you so much, Michela, Simon, our other mayors. That was absolutely brilliant, really inspiring. You've recruited very, very well. Mark, thank you for your presentation too. And please join us next week, everybody. Have a good evening.